An order of protection is a court order that restricts abusive behavior. This only applies to family members like husbands, boyfriends, mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, things like that. And it can be a very powerful tool because it can kick this person out of the house, and it can make it so that they can't come within 500 or 1,000 feet from you. This order of protection can require that the abuser goes to therapy. It can restrict the kids from seeing that particular person. It can institute child support. It can institute a lot of different things from this court order. So it's a very powerful tool for those who are being stalked, harassed, physically intimidated. They're being physically abused, verbally abused. Now the question is, how do you get an order of protection? An order of protection can be obtained in two ways. One is a criminal order of protection, and one is a civil order of protection. A criminal order of protection usually comes alongside a charge of domestic violence. So as part of the conditions of release for a charge of domestic violence, there might be an order of protection in place to ensure that the abuser cannot go to the victim's house. The other is a civil order of protection. This is where an individual goes to the court and requests an order of protection. And the thing about these orders of protection is that it happens ex parte usually, meaning that the other side, the abuser, has no idea that it's coming and is not there present for that initial hearing. So typically, a lot of court systems will have a room or advocates that help people file orders of protection. You would go to one of these advocates, you would let them know the incidences that took place, they'll help you fill out the paperwork, and you go in front of a judge. And basically, you are able to tell the judge the entire story on your own about the abuse that has occurred, the stalking, the verbal intimidation, whatever it might be. And most of the time, the judge will grant that order of protection. This initial order of protection will only last 2 weeks, okay? It only lasts for 2 weeks, and then the other side will have an opportunity to come to a follow-up hearing. That hearing then is when both sides would be able to argue their case, both sides would be able to talk about what happened and defend themselves and present evidence related to the order of protection. So understanding that this is a very powerful tool for those who are being abused that can, get this abuser out of their life for a particular set of time. Now, that might last 2 weeks, but a full-on hearing can result in a 2-year order of protection. Although this might be necessary for many, many individuals who are facing domestic violence, who are facing abuse and stalking, intimidation, a lot of times this order of protection can be used for evil. And what do I mean? A lot of times these order of protections are being filed right alongside a divorce. And what this order of protection can do is destabilize the situation in the sense that the abuser, usually the man, is kicked out of the house. They have no access to their belongings. A lot of times they don't have access to the kids because the kids are named in that order of protection. And now, if there's an order of protection in place during a divorce, it's more likely that sole decision making is going to be given, in this case, to the mother because that communication is not allowed. The other issue with orders of protection is that the burden of proof is preponderance of the evidence, which basically means more likely than not. It's not the same standard as criminal law, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, and it's not even in the middle, which is clear and convincing evidence, which is like 75%. So basically, in order to get a order of protection, you have to prove 51%, right? 51% preponderance of the evidence that this abuse occurred. And again, on certain circumstances, it could be very beneficial to have this burden of proof. But on the other side, if you are facing an order of protection and the allegations are not true or unsubstantiated and your children are involved, you can imagine how detrimental that could be to your life. The other issue is that a lot of times these order of protection hearings, although it's supposed to happen in 2 weeks, it may not happen for weeks and months at a time. At that point, you haven't seen your children for many, many weeks. You haven't had the opportunity to maybe get your items from your house, or other things are still in the flux. And a lot of times what usually happens is that a divorce is filed, as I mentioned earlier. At this juncture, you're almost put in a corner, the person who's facing the order of protection, right? Because in order for them to get maybe visitation going, in order for them to get in front of a family law judge rather than being in front of a order of protection judge, they have to file for divorce to get that case transferred, and that transfer now can take a lot of time. So I just wanted to give an introduction as to what an order of protection is, how it's used, how it's obtained, and really caution ourselves that with power, great power comes great responsibility. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for future videos. Inshallah, until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.